Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janu Yashoda Nandana Braja Jananjana Yamuna Hira Vanachari Yamuna Hira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kuja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kuja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhu 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Vishnupada Parahamsa Parijakacharya Ashotashata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai His Confounder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupada Parahamsa Parijakacharya Ashotashata Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, entitled Lord Rishabde's Teachings, text number 25. Matopiyana tat parata parasmat svarga pavagardi pater nakinchit yesham kimu syad itarena tesham akinchanam mayi bhakti bhajam Matopyanantat parata parasmat svarga pavagadi pater na kinchit yesham kimusyad itarena tesham akinchanam akinchananam mai bhakti bhajam Matopyanantat parata parasmat Svarga Pavargadi Pater na Kinchit Yesham Kimusad Itarena Tesham Akinchananam Mayi Bhakti Bhajam Mata from me, Api even, Anantat, unlimited in strength and opulence, Parata Parasmat, higher than the highest. Svarga Apavarga Adipate, able to bestow happiness obtainable by living in the heavenly kingdom, by liberation, or by enjoyment of material comfort and then liberation. Na, not. Kinchit, anything. Yesham, of whom. Kim, what need. U, oh. Sayat, can there be. Itarena, with any other. Tesham, of them. Akinchananam, without needs or without possessions. Mai, onto me. Bhakti bhajam, executing devotional service. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I am fully opulent, almighty, and superior to Lord Brahma and Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. I am also the bestower of all happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comfort from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. They are simply they simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anyone else? Purport. The perfect Brahminical qualification is stated herein. Akinchananam Mayi Bhakti Bhajam. The Brahmanas are always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Consequently, they have no material wants, nor do they possess material things. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains the position of pure Vaishnavas who are anxious to return home back to Godhead. Nishkin Chananasya Bhagavad Vajanamukasya. Those who actually want to return back to Godhead are Nishkinchana. That is, they have no desire for material comfort. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, Sandarshanam Vishayinam Atta Yoshitam Chaha Hanta Hanta Visha Vakshantopi Asadu. Material opulence and sense gratification through the association of women are more dangerous than poison. Brahmanas, who are pure Vaishnavas, always engage in the Lord's service and are devoid of any desire for material gain. The Brahmanas do not worship demigods like Lord Brahma, Indra, or Lord Shiva for any material comfort. They do not even ask the Supreme Lord for material profit. Therefore, it is concluded that the Brahmanas are the supreme living entities of this world. Sri Kapila Dev also confirms this in Srimad Bhagavatam. Asman Maya Arpitashin Sha Kriyatatma Nirantara Mayi Arpitatmaya Pusho Mayi Sanyasta Karmana Na Pashyami Parambutam Akartu Samadarshanat. The Brahmanas are always dedicated to the Lord's service with their bodies, words, and minds. There's no better person than a Brahmana who thus engages himself and dedicates himself to the Supreme Lord. Om Agyanachar Mandasya Yananjana Shlakaya Chakshulumitamyana Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Rishabhdev mentions in this verse that he, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is superior to all of the demigods. Uh, Lord Indra, who is the king of the heavenly planets, Lord Brahma, who is, of course, the creator of this material universe, and uh, Lord Rishabhdev also mentions that he himself is fully opulent and almighty, and is able to bestow all happiness. If you look in the Sanskrit, it's Svagarva Apavarga Adipate, able to bestow happiness, obtainable by living in the heavenly kingdom, by liberation, or by enjoyment of material comfort and then liberation. So, as the Supreme Person of Godhead, he is able to give all sorts of benedictions, even for material comfort. Sometimes there's a sort of mental schism that we have, a division in our mind that I think, oh, I'll approach Krishna for all of my uh, spiritual sort of things. But when it comes to material things, I will uh, approach others. I'll take shelter of others for my material comfort. Uh, and of course, it is not considered kind of the highest standard to approach uh, Krishna for material things, but one is certainly able to approach Krishna for uh, material opulences if one has those desires. And by the process of approaching Krishna for such desires, one will become liberated uh, of uh, those desires. The most prominent example that we see in Bhagavatam is the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, who, due to being insulted by the uh, by one of the wives of his father, so the mother of his half brother, uh, wanted to obtain a kingdom that would outshine all of the kingdom of uh, his father, his grandfather, and his great grandfather, who was Lord Brahma. And to do this, well, he heard from uh, his, I guess you could say, stepmother, to kind of translate it into English. Uh, when she was chastising him and insulting him, he said, she said, "You have to pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And when he went to go talk to his mother, she said, "That's right. If you want something, approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And that I heard that she said that uh, I heard great sages find him in the forest. So Dhruva approached the Lord with material desires, with wanting something material. But by following the proper process, he became purified of those material desires. And in doing so, became a greatly elevated devotee. We also read in Bhagavad Gita about the various types of people that approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some just want relief from material distress. That is generally held to be the largest category numerically, that those who approach the Lord due to a sense of distress and think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can relieve some of that distress. Some approach due to want for material opulences, whether that is, you know, a nice house by the sea, a lot of money, a beautiful wife, or whatever sort of material opulences one wants. And in doing so, uh, if one sticks to the process, one can become purified of these. As another examples that I was talking, that we were talking about with, or that I was talking about with some devotees yesterday, was that there are various pastimes of thieves going to Vrindavan. I know at least in one story, this thief uh, heard a Srimad Bhagavatam class where it's describing Krishna in his childhood form. And he heard that Krishna has all of these various ornaments uh, and valuable jewels that he wears on his body. So the thief thinks, you know, I've just been, you know, stealing a little bit here, stealing a bit there. If I go steal the jewels and ornaments off of this boy, then uh, you know, I'd be set for life, that I would be able to retire. Uh, so he heard in the class that this boy lives in Vrindavan and has very distinctive features about him. So he goes and waits in Vrindavan by a road. And he's always thinking, when is this Krishna going to come? When is this Krishna going to come? And eventually he does get Krishna's darshan. There are various stories that are similar, and ends up serving favorably rather than wanting to steal from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, no matter how one approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become purified and reach a higher standard. And that higher standard is said to be here the Brahminical standard, the standard of the Brahmanas, who are akinchananam mai bhakti bhajam, executing devotional service on to Krishna without need or possession. That the attitude is one of surrender, that uh, we do not need anything material or possess anything material, but just execute devotional service. This is stated to be the uh, way, or the way that one should approach Krishna and engage in devotional service, not looking after material comfort, but looking after more service. And uh, the phrase here is akinchananam, without needs or possessions. However, we see even in the various acharyas in our line differences in uh, this regard, at least externally. For example, one who could truly be said to have no possessions, or somebody like Gorakishore Das Babaji, uh, the sometimes referred to as the personification of renunciation. And yes, he lived basically in an outhouse so that people would not come and bother him, owning more or less nothing, and simply performing his devotional service onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the other hand, we see that other Vaishnavas that this does not seem to apply to. For example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a high court judge, had a large family, um, a he had a home, property, etc. It does not seem that this would apply to him, that without possessions would apply to him. Also, uh, we see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ran the Gaudiya Math, that had so many properties and so many um, projects going on. And of course, before he took sannyas, Srila Prabhupada himself was a family man. So, how do we understand this description of akinchananam, without needs or without possessions? And the way to understand it is that the pure devotees, even though externally it looks like they are doing the same thing as any materialist might be doing, or might be owning the same things, there is actually uh, no sense of possessiveness, that they do not see their possessions as being owned by themselves, by uh, but being controlled by Krishna, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and dedicating all of that to the Supreme Person. There are so many things in devotional service that seem like they are the equivalent or the same as uh, karmic activity. Now, there are so many activities, for example, that we do here on the farm. We till our land, we grow hay. There are farms around here that till their land and grow hay. There are uh, farms around here that grow vegetables, and we also grow vegetables. So it seems externally that we are all doing the same thing. But the difference is doing it for Krishna versus doing it for our own sense enjoyment. So even those who possess things, even those pure devotees who seem to externally possess things, are not disqualified by this verse in approaching or attaining the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That because they do not actually have this attitude of possession, there's this attitude that keeps us in the material world, that we want to possess, that is to be the controller and the enjoyer. That, I want to have this material opulence, this material possession, so that I can enjoy better and that I can control better. I want uh, money so I can go with these various uh, experiences or objects, uh, or um, I want to be able to control my dominion over this particular area or property. And this is the mentality of the material world. Everybody in the material world thinks of things in terms of I and mine. What opulence can I have? How can I increase my own opulence? And what can I do with what is mine? And this is the attitude of enviousness that leads to conflicts in the material world because everybody else is also trying to control and enjoy. And when two people who are trying to enjoy the same thing encounter one another, there is inevitably friction. There is inevitably uh, the fighting that is characteristic and the competition that is characteristic of the uh, world, uh, of the material world in general. Uh, so there are, so it is said here that one without this desire to possess things uh, is well suited for devotional service. And as I said, this is considered to be the Brahminical platform. And the Brahmanas are meant to be the uh, leaders or the head of society and to give uh, guidance to all of the uh, other parts of society. Uh, because all different uh, parts of society have their role to play. In the traditional Vedic system, this is the Varnashram system. According to Varnas and ashrams, one has a particular role to play in society. The Brahmanas are meant to uh, lead and instruct the various parts because one can be an expert in uh, many things, in practically anything. Uh, and we see that those who are uh, guiding or sometimes misguiding, or many times misguiding society are experts in various things. Uh, whenever there is some some sort of political situation or societal situation, they always bring out the experts and uh, say that we have to listen to whatever they say. Uh, I've even had several people openly say uh, openly espouse the idea of a technocracy that instead of rule by a king or vote, uh, etc., one is ruled by experts of various types, depending on what sort of policy is under discussion. Uh, of course, in many cases, the expertise of people today, of even scholars of today, is very limited. Uh, I know in my time in academia, you would see many people who would specialize in some uh, super specific subfield of a subfield of whatever their uh, area of study was. And thus, they were experts on that one specific thing. Actually, just as an aside, the reason why uh, that happens is because in the very popular subfields, or ones that a lot of people are studying that are big, it's very hard to get original results, which is what one needs for a PhD. So, uh, a lot of PhD students, knowing that they can't compete necessarily with the big and the larger subfields, stake out a small corner of some obscure thing to write their thesis on. But that's an aside. So there are so many experts that are uh, there in an obscure thing. And a lot of people have the idea that for this policy, we should consult these experts, and for that, we should consult these experts. But the best expertise is what to be expert in. There's one who knows what to is expert in what to be expert in. And that is the Brahmanas. They're able to, the proper Brahmana is able to instruct in devotional service, which is the constitutional position of the living entity and what should be the goal of life. That one should always be striving to engage in the devotional service of the Lord without contamination by material desires. Uh, Prabhupada used the word throughout his uh, books, lectures, letters, etc. He used the word unalloyed. So an alloy is, of course, a mixture of two types of metals. But the proper mm, standard of devotional service is that it is unalloyed, that it is unmixed with any other process, any other philosophy, any other uh, worldview. That it is the highest goal and only thing that we have in our life, and that it is what we are trying to attain. Uh, that we should not even be looking for material opulences. Okay, if one has material desires, it is possible to approach Krishna for those. But one should seek to come to this platform of Kinchananam Mayi Bhakti Bhajam, of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any material needs or without this view of material possessiveness. And in doing so, one can attain it oneself and also attain it to others. That is actually the job of the brahmanas. It is not to rest on one's own laurels, so to speak, but actually to instruct, as particularly in the highest form of knowledge or the highest education, which is devotional service. And in doing so, one not only helps elevate oneself, but helps elevate others. So we should always be thinking of how to uh, spread this devotional service, this knowledge of devotional service to others. It might, I know sometimes living on the farm, it can be sort of, in some ways, pushed to the back of one's mind because it's not as direct as being in the cities, for example, of doing Harinam or book distribution or various programs, etc. But we should all think one way or another of how to spread this knowledge of devotional service to the entire world and help the mission of this Krishna consciousness movement. So that's all that I have. We have about 15 minutes until the doors open. So are there any comments, questions, additions, subtractions, multiplications, divisions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Bible, Tarka Prabhu.
I want to thank you for another nice class. Thinking about your comment about the need, the importance of propagating Krishna consciousness, which is obviously important to those who are business. It's a means for them. And for those of us who have Krishna consciousness, it's also beneficial. Can advance in our Krishna consciousness by spreading Krishna consciousness to others. So the wonderful thing about Krishna consciousness is that one of the wonderful things is that by helping someone to cross over the ocean of material life, by that effort, you also arrive on the other side. So both parties equally share in the benefit when you attempt to help someone to become Krishna conscious. As far as propagating Krishna consciousness from Gita Nagari, of course, Srila Prabhupada's strategy was that our farm projects would be a model, an example of ideal human life, a way for us to convey to the general mass of people instruction on how to live ideally with Krishna at the center of all activities, a lifestyle in which individually and collectively everyone's lives revolve around service to Krishna, living simply, depending upon the basic necessities as they are provided by Krishna, and saving time to prosecute Krishna consciousness. So it's true what you say, that sometimes Gita Nagari, it's easy to and maybe forget how we are linked with the preaching effort. It's not the same as some other temples where there is a great emphasis on getting the temple every day to try to share Krishna consciousness with others, either by distributing books or Harinam Sankirtan or some program at schools and elsewhere. There's all kinds of activities of preaching, and so there's no difficulty to understand how one is engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness by those activities, but and to be absorbed in that mentality of giving Krishna consciousness is a wonderful thing. The spirit of Sankirtan is wonderfully powerful and uplifting. Sometimes devotees come to Gita Nagari from a city temple, and they feel a sense of not emptiness, but that something is lacking. They feel as though they're not engaged in that powerful process of Sankirtan, which they came to rely upon for their Krishna consciousness. But really, what is lacking is the understanding of how the activities of Gita Nagari are also Sankirtan. It's important to keep that in mind in order to derive the greatest benefit of that Sankirtan effort. You need to have some understanding of how, in fact, you are engaged in Sankirtan, and if you understand that, then you can also perform them and derive the greatest benefit from them, and others in the best possible way. So it's supposed to be that everything that we do really is part of the Sankirtan effort. We need to remember that our specific services, our duties are meant to serve as an example. So we have to perform those duties nicely at every stage, from the beginning of planning operations to every aspect of the execution of the plan. Everything should be done very nicely with a view to set an ideal example for others. And the example that we have to show based upon Srila Prabhupada's instructions is a very wonderful and ideal thing. The Vedic systems are perfect and ideal. They provide a means by which human beings can live simply, easily, and sustainably long into the future, indefinitely, in a sustainable manner. Modern society, by comparison, is not sustainable. In all kinds of ways, it's not sustainable. It is doomed to fail at some stage or other. Resources they depend upon are doomed to exhaust themselves in time. It's another whole topic of discussion, how modern civilization is not sustainable. But the Vedic system is ideal in that regard. It is a sustainable system. It does not overburden the land. Um, the Vedic system of agriculture is such that the land is endlessly renewed, refreshed. It depends upon the integration of cow culture into the human culture. When we depend upon Krishna by depending upon the land and the cows, the system potentially is very, very perfect and ideal and sustainable in the ultimate sense. So we're trying to realize that it's it hasn't been an easy journey. There are many foreign projects throughout ISKCON. They have succeeded to varying degrees in manifesting Srila Prabhupada's vision of what they should be. At Gita Nagari, we have, Gita Nagari is known throughout ISKCON for having achieved a greater degree of success than some other farm communities in some aspects of its operation. We have probably one of the successful of cow protection and milk production. We're making significant progress in the area of food production, both the human beings and the cows. This year, we're stepping up our food production efforts. I think this is at least the second year that Dhruva Prabhu has grown wheat, which is an important staple. Sometimes devotees are preoccupied with just growing some vegetables, sometimes described by critics as rabbit food. Salads and simple vegetables, good for vitamins and minerals, but staples such as grains are also required. Grains your strength from, and milk and grains are very important staples for Vaishnavas who are lacto-vegetarians. So a lot of ISKCON projects are not producing grains, but we're endeavoring to do that, and with some success. But everything that we do, it's not just the agricultural projects, that aspect of Gita Nagari, but Gita Nagari is it's more than any temple. It is both a farm and a temple. We have all the usual temple operations of a city temple, but in addition to that, we have all the operations of a farm. So it's a complex project that requires a lot of work to maintain, and it's a huge job to manage. Many of us would argue that it's not the job of a single manager. It's because it's such a huge job. Nonetheless, Dhruva and Parijata are doing an extraordinary keeping all the balls juggled, and it is a feat of trying to keep everything going. It's very difficult, but every individual who resides at Gita Nagari, and also those in the outlying community, the Nagari devotees all have an important part to play in this example that Krishna, that Gita Nagari is be. Everyone, even merely by their participation in the programs of Gita Nagari, are taking part in that process of creating an example for us to demonstrate. So there's many ways to appreciate how we are directly involved in Sankirtan Yajna. We just need to be mindful of it, thoughtful of it, and in that consciousness, try to act ideally for the sake of setting that ideal example. Today is Mother's Day, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know whether you came prepared to say anything about Mother's Day. I haven't prepared to do that, but I would like to express my appreciation for my many mothers. The Vedic conception is that there are 7 mothers. It's described in Niti Shastra. There's a verse, Adao Mata Guru Patni Brahmani Raja Patnika, Denor Datri Tata Pritvi, Saptaita Matara Smritaha. So one's own mother, the wife of the guru, the wife of a brahmana, the wife of a king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth are known as the 7 mothers of a man. They are all, and we all owe a debt to each of these mothers. They are all very important. Also, a brahmachari is supposed to be trained to regard and address all women as mother. In the Vedic conception, even a father sometimes address his daughter as mother, particularly once she is married and she becomes a part of the husband's family. Then the father regards even his daughter as mother. So we have many mothers, 7 mothers, and all of them are really important to us. Our lives depend upon our mothers. Either our lives are made directly possible. We take birth from one of those mothers, and we are nourished by our birth mother and the cow, and sometimes the nurse. We also have a debt to other mothers who are the wives of those who play an important part in our lives, the guru, or any instructor. Actually, Srila Prabhupada explains the wife of the king, the important leader. Even stepmothers, Krishna set the example of regarding all of his mothers equally, including stepmothers. Regarded the same, all treated in the same way with the same degree of respect. So many mothers, all very, very important. So we really, Mother's Day really should be an important event at Gita Nagari, where we are we have to be concerned with all of our 7 mothers, and in particular 2 mothers are at least 2 should be especially important to us. We have the cows, and we are stewards of the earth here. We are depending directly on the earth for our sustenance, or we should be. And so lots of ways to remember and recognize our dependence upon our mothers, and once again to set the example for society at large of that importance and how practically to do these things. So I'm hopeful that we can develop Mother's Day at Gita Nagari one day to become significant calendar event, a day on which we give special honor to our mothers, especially the cows and the earth. And it's good to have festivals. They serve to engage our mind and senses and remind us of what's important in life. So, well, there's some of my thoughts today, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Out of time, so
Lord,
Hare Krishna. Yes.
well, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Uh, Shri Shri Radha Damodar.
Jaya Nikai Gora Sundar Nikai Gora Sundar Gora Hari Jaya 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 Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Sri Guru Charan Prabhupada Kevalam Bhakti Sa Sri Guru Charan Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Charan Sadma
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Always the civil devotees. Always the civil devotees. Always the civil devotees. Always the Sri Guru and Sri Rama, always Sri Rama. My only have my confidence here by the words. Traffic will see. The other my daughter and I on the only opportunity to go. He is my Lord for God. From him that permitted me violently. The Vedas scripture is seeking this care. Our spiritual master deals with mercy, and for our Lord after Christ. Oh, Master, be uniform about to share. Your opinion of you control. The divine grace, Bhagavatam, Swami Prabhupada, he,
Krishna, dear devotees, wishing you a splendid day in Krishna consciousness.